Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast, where you get to choose, change and take action to create a different today and a different future. These are my stories of choice, change and action, along with the phenomenal guests I have on here. From a really young age, I've always desired to create a change in the world. The planet has been a constant inspiration to me, and Access Consciousness has shown me the tools to know that anything is possible. And I keep choosing. What are you going to choose? Hello, everybody. Welcome to Choice, Change and Action podcast. So you're with me, your host, Simone Milasas, and I am in Prague, Czech Republic at the moment. I've just been doing a Choice for Possibilities class, and it's been so amazing. I am so grateful. Literally called, Dane here, who I work with, who works with Access Consciousness last night. He was in Spain and I was like tears of gratitude. It's just been so amazing. This 12-year-old comes up to me and every day she would wait for me to give me this big hug. And at the end of the class, she's like, I don't want you to go. And she's like, I don't want you to leave me. And I went, I'm not leaving you. It's okay. I said, you can call me anytime you want. And she was just like you look at things like that and you go, that's why I'm doing this stuff. It was incredible. It was so cool. So, and then today I have Miss Paula Peralta, who is a regular, I should say, on my podcast, and a regular on my podcast, and a regular on my podcast to take over is what we call it. So, Paula, welcome.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Simone. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be a regular on this podcast. If I'm going to be a regular anywhere, this is the place to be.
Allora. Thank you. So what are we talking about today? I know we're going to talk about business.
Yes, it's business time. So if you haven't listened to our previous takeover episodes, please go and listen, because we've done relationships, we've done business, we've done money. And we're back to business, because what happens is we ask questions on social media and you write in and you've got questions, and then I bring them to Simone. So I'm basically a voice for the people. Okay, Simone. So we've got some pretty juicy ones today. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for this.
Okay, perfect. So a lot of the questions, because we've done so many business conversations, we're starting to get a little bit more specific and dialed in these questions. And one of the things that was a pretty common theme is like success. So like, how do you know when you're a success? Like, when do you consider your business a success? Like, what does success even mean? And I think you speak to this really brilliantly in the conversation of like targets and goals and success, and what does it mean to you? So do you want to just like kind of riff off of that to start?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I would say, what if you destroyed and uncreated what you've decided success is? Because success is something so different. Isn't that a weird word to say over and over again? Success. Success is something that's really different for everybody. Like, it's like, what is success to you, Paula? What is success to me? What is success to a child at school? What is success to a father, bringing home money with 5 kids? It's like, it's all very different. So what I would invite is that you start to look at and ask the question of what is success for you. Mm-hmm. Now, an example, and I wrote about this in my Joy of Business book, and if you don't have it, you should get it, Joy of Business. You can get it on Amazon or Audible as well, and it's actually in multiple languages, like 16 languages. And one of the stories I told in there was a business I used to have called Good Vibes for You, and it was incredible. What I wanted to do with that business was change the way people looked at themselves, change the way they looked at the world, change the way they were with each other, etc. So, I mean, I created all this merchandise and, things written on T-shirts and merchandise. My, hope was that people would read it and be inspired to choose something different. People would read it and be inspired to wake up happy. They would read it and be inspired to be grateful for themselves, not to judge themselves. I mean, little sidebar story there is, then I met Gary Douglas and Access Consciousness and Dane here, and went, holy shit, these guys are talking about everything that I would like to create in the world. So Hence, I kept that business for a little while, but then ended up, access consciousness. I was like, God, this is so much quicker than what I'm doing. But here we go. I had a phone call from a lady once, and she said to me, are you the owner of Good Vibes for You? And I said, yes. And she said, I want to thank you. I've had one of your magnets, because that's one of the things that we used to produce, a magnet that a friend gave me, and it said on it, imagine what you would do if you knew you couldn't fail. And she told me that she was, married. She was heavily abused. She had 8 or 9 kids, basically way too many. And every morning she was waking up crying. And she just sort of got to the stage where she thought that's what her life was.
Mm.
And a friend gave her this magnet. And for every day, for 6 months, she said, I read it. Every time I opened my fridge up, I read it. Imagine what I would do if I knew I couldn't fail. And she said, I wanted to let you know that you changed my life. She said, I have now moved out of that house. I've left my husband. I have my kids. And she said, I wake up happy.
Mm.
And she said, I want to thank you for that. So for me, I was a success because it matched the energy of what it was that I was asking to create in the world. And, that magnet, it cost $5 Australian retail. I used to sell them at $2.20 wholesale, plus our tax. So it's like, what was I making on that? Pretty much nothing. But for me, that was a major success. And that sort of success, like what I just told you about with that, the 12-year-old girl in my class, it's like, kids come for free to access, right? So I'm not making quote unquote money off her. And she came because she actually asked if she could come without a parent. And she came and she was just amazing. And to me, I'm a success because of that little girl, Now, notice how I'm not talking about having millions and billions of dollars in the bank account or anything. And most people will calibrate their success by the amount of money that they make each week or each month, or how much they have in their bank account. I'm not suggesting that you don't look at money, but what I would like you to look at is what matches the energy of what it is you're asking to create in the world, and start to choose that. Choose money also. I love money. I have money and I really enjoy it. And it creates a lot of ease in my life. But for me, if I was just making money and I wasn't changing people's lives, it wouldn't be enough. So what is success for you?
Yeah. And one of the things that you mentioned, I mean, you brought up Joy Business, which is just, if you haven't read it, if you're listening to this and you have not read it, go get a copy. Because there are pieces where I'll open it up and just read a bit that I'm like, oh, that totally applies today. Like, it doesn't matter what page I turn to, there's always something that I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great reminder. But one of the things that you talked about is this idea of targets versus goals, and how targets, they change, right? So the target that you might have for your business, or the definition of success, not definition, but you know what I mean? The idea of success that you have, or what you'd like to accomplish now, might be different than what it's going to be in, 3 weeks, 6 months, 10 years for your business. And so being willing to be flexible and shift based on where the energy goes with your business it's a really groundbreaking idea that I think maybe you don't even realize is as mind-blowing as it is. The idea that you can actually change your mind in business.
Yeah, I mean, you can change your mind in everything. I remember talking to my stepson years ago, when you're 14 and you're at school and they're saying, what do you want to do? What are you going to study? What college are you going to go to? What are you going to do when you leave school? And at that time, he was wanting to do IT, etc. And I said to him, hey, dude, just remember, you can change your mind. Because I remember at school, it was sort of once you make your choice, this is it, that's your path. And I was like, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want to do, So I said to him, look, whatever you choose, just know you can change your mind. You're allowed to. Because for me, it's Paula, it's about going out there and living, truly living. And as you live and as you go places, it's oh, what about this? What about this? What about that? I'm learning Italian at the moment, and I'm learning Italian. I'm in Czech Republic, right? And I've been in Italy for the last couple of weeks. It is so much easier to learn Italian when you're in Italy. I get here to Czech Republic and I was like, what? And I was like, I can't speak my Italian anymore. And so last night I started looking at Airbnbs going, what if I came and spent 3 months in Italy and I used that as a base, right? And then I could really learn Italian. So, but that wasn't on my, schedule. That wasn't on my, list of goals, right?
Yeah.
It's a forever moving target, like you said. So when you have a goal, I mean, if you look at the spelling of it too, it literally spells jail, right? So in the English language, Queen's English. So,
Yeah.
and it's like, and it spells jail, and it's like, so how many of you are heading towards a goal that you don't even want to do anymore? I mean, it could be getting married, it could be owning your own business. It could be, anything. And it's like, are you actually heading in the direction that's bringing you joy, that is fun for you? For me, man, you got to get out there and live your life. So what
Mm,
is that for you? So if you have these, these targets that you're heading towards, you're like, yeah, I'd love to own my own business, I'd love to live in this place, or even, yeah, I would love to get married or something, whatever it is. It's like, but allow it to change, because each and every day as you wake up, life changes. It's like you change. You interact and engage with different people, with different situations. That gives you more information. And as you gain more awareness, you're like, oh, that. And here's the thing that I find is really quite annoying is as you shift and change, how many of you have been told that you're fickle? You can't make your mind up.
mhm.
You can't be relied on, or, you can't stick to one thing. I was always told that. It's like, you can't stick to one thing. You can't settle down. And I would look at people go, why would I want to settle down? Like, I would do so many different jobs, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. And it's like time to move on. But I learnt skills in so many different industries. But I remember going to this job interview once, and this guy said to me, you do realize how your resume looks, right? I said, what do you mean? And he went, you've done so many things, but you keep leaving the job. He said, if I'm going to hire you, he said, how long are you going to stay here for? And I was like, well, and I literally said to him, it depends on how, interested I am in it. It depends how, if I'm getting bored or not. And he laughed and he said, I'm really grateful for your honesty, because that's how I chose. So how do you choose,
I love that. One of the things you talked about was like the interaction, and this was a question we had quite a bit. Was like basically like talking to your business, and you've spoken about this and like alluded to it a lot of different ways. But can we dive a little bit deeper into that? Like, what does it mean to talk to your business? And then there's also a side question that might I think you'll weave in with it, which is like you are not your business. You've said your life is your business and your business is your life,
Yeah.
but you also say enjoy business. Like you are not your business. So can you speak to that? Like your business is a separate entity. What does that communication look like?
Yeah, it is a separate entity. And yeah, that's a big one, that you are not your business as well. Like that business I was referring to, Good Vibes for You, that I had, I was in Sydney, Australia once, and I used to do lots of music festivals and things like that. So I'm in this suburb called Glebe, and these two guys skating on their skateboards, going down the street, and they go, "Oh, look, there's the Good Vibes lady," from festivals. And I remember standing there just going, "Shit," and I was like, "I'm the Good Vibes lady," and I realized I was so like I thought I was scared to leave that business and change anything, because I didn't know who I'd be without being the Good Vibes lady. Even though I hated it at the same time, I was like, I felt comfortable in that definition at that time. And it was one of the hardest things for me to actually give up that business, because I had gone, who am I? What am I without this? So it's like, how many of you are defining yourself by your business? Your business is just one thing that you are currently choosing. And I mean, what if you had 10 businesses? What if you had, 5 really great revenue streams, and they were all of different things? Like at the moment, I've got an antique shop, and it's really funny when people go, oh, so you're in the antique business. And I'm thinking, I know crap about antiques. Like, I like them and I think they're really beautiful, and I know what I like when I see it, but I don't know about antiques. It's like, that is just one business that I have a great business partners in that know a lot about antiques, and it's just one business that I have. There's so many other things. And since then, I've never defined myself by a business. And I see what happens is when you do, you become like this source point. You become the source point for nothing can move without you, because you become the business. Now, if you have your business as a separate entity, whole different ballgame. And a lot of the times I can't tell you how many, private sessions I've had, or people in my classes, they bring up, they think that their business is starting to fail because they can't, I want to say, feel it anymore, right? And that's when I'm like, well, ask the business a question and let's talk to the business. Because when you institute a business and you've got this generative idea and then you start, instituting the business and it starts to grow, there's this moment that the business sort of takes on its own energy and becomes an entity unto itself. That is the moment that people misidentify, oh my God, it's gone, it's failed. It's like, no, it just feels different. You sense it different. So ask, oh, okay, have you actually become an entity unto your own? Now, as you sort of, I guess, register that, then ask the business, where do you want to be? What hours do you want to open up? Like, what would work for you? It's like, ask the business to pull in clients or pull in sales or whatever it is, because then the business will function from this energetic sort of source field that allows people to find it without having to go to you first.
I love that too, because I think one of the other things you talk about enjoy business, and I've read this a million times, is that once you actually separate yourself from the, not separate, but like once you identify that your business is actually a separate entity, then you can actually give your business a job. And I think that ties back to what you were saying with like targets. Like if your target is to, inspire people or make people feel great about themselves, or whatever that is, that's also one of the jobs that you can give your business. And also you can give your business the job to make you money, like to be a revenue generator. And I think that's such a cool, there's like such a freedom in that, and a space that I think doesn't get talked about in business often enough.
Well, also one of the things that okay, so and every morning if you wake up and just say, hey, business, make me money today. You're like, what would it take for you to make me more money today? What would it take for you? Like actually at our antique shop, it's called Antiques and Possibilities, if you want to check it out in Peregian Beach. And today on our, WhatsApp thread with the staff, one of my business partners, Chris, said, what I ask for is 10 new paying clients to show up each week. So that you've just given like a whole lot of tools. It's like 10 new paying clients, not just people who wander in the shop and go, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And it's like, no, paying clients, and ask for the shop to find them. And it's like, and if you think this is crazy, it's like, try it out, because how exhausted are you being from actually, trying to work it all out? Hey, the other thing that I wanted to mention though too is you can ask your business, and like, so every client that you've ever had, ask like the energy of their gratitude to contribute to the future clients. So even for you, Paula, it's like, the different things that you do with it. I mean, you're not just a hairdresser. It's like you've been going and doing some major events, or even you're doing presentations. So say all the energy from a presentation that was just so off the charts, asking that to contribute to your future.
I love
Like the class I just did, it's like the gratitude, asking that gratitude to contribute to all of the future classes. And, it sounds really easy, and guess what it is? And what if you gave it a shot? Something different.
Well, that's what's really cool. I mean, if you haven't also gotten yourself to a Business Done Different class, we'll talk about that some in just a minute. But one of the things that I've heard you talk about in Business Done Different is that idea of like, it doesn't actually have to be hard. And that if you're willing to kind of chuck out the rule book of how business is supposed to be done and follow the energy and like actually be with the energy. And that's so much of like that gratitude. Yes, it is a like, dear business, I'm grateful for you, or dear person, I'm grateful for you. But it's also like allowing that energy to seep into your business and contribute, which is
and following the energy is like, I mean, so I'm here in Europe. I'm here for 2.5 months. Just did this class, doing a bunch of classes, including the Business Done Different in Marseille, France, in June. And I was saying yesterday, I get so enthused and so excited, and I was like, I want to do like a class every weekend, everywhere. Like, what other places can we go to and open up and go where we haven't been before? And I just get so enthused and excited. And I was laughing to Sarah, who we work with, because then if I filled up my schedule like that and then I get to my schedule, I'm like, what the hell? And it's like, who created this? There's no time for me, So I think it's funny because I get very enthused, right? But literally following the energy is asking, okay, so how many weeks out of the month would I like to work? Like, how, because I do most of my classes on weekends. It's like, how many weekends would I like to work? How often would I like to travel? So actually asking those questions and allowing that to pop, and then you go, okay, I'll choose this. And the way I look at it is, when I choose something on a schedule and it sort of lands in my world, and it's like, then you can perceive it's got this heartbeat. It's like, may even be like a little heartbeat, but it's a heartbeat, and then it starts to grow and expand. And then asking it, going, okay, so who would like to contribute to this class? Maybe what languages, because the majority of our classes we have translated into at least 6 or 8 languages. So it's like, what languages would like to contribute to this? So then you keep asking questions. So in no place with choosing and following the energy is there a conclusion or looking for a result. It's constantly being in question, which matches what you were talking about, Paula, with the target and the goals, because the target is forever moving, So.
And I think that's like, it's funny because I remember like when I first heard the ideas of like joy business and like in a business on different class, and I was like, wait, what? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, you just want me to like talk to my business and then it's just like,
Girl,
like talk back to me. Like, it just didn't. And I've heard so many stories. Like, I mean, I even think about like Arlene when she was like, in the first class, with the notepad and the pen, and like, just like people coming in with this like very structured idea of what business is. And I mean, now being, I don't even know, 6-7 years into the tools of access consciousness, and like having worked with you, there's such a relaxation that you're inviting people to. And so if you're listening to this is gentle listeners, if you're listening to this and you're like, this is insane, it makes no sense, I get it, I hear you. And I feel like, Simone, I've heard you say the same thing. Like, sometimes you're just like, yes, I knew that it spoke to what I wanted to create, but also I felt like it wasn't linear, and you couldn't like make it into this, you couldn't fit it into the box of the way you'd always done business. So if you're listening to that and that's coming up for you, like, just keep going is what I will say.
Well, I mean, the classes, joy business, and the classes that we do, business done different. And there's lots of joy business facilitators around the world too. So you don't just have to come to my class. There's many of them. I mean, including Paula is a joy business facilitator. So, but it's business done different. It's not business done how everybody else has done it. But can I tell you, it's like way easier. And it's like, yes, you can take in, you can do budgets if you want, and you can do all these different things. Like, you can play with this reality. But for me, it's like, let's play beyond this reality too. And let's give credence to how the universe works, that we do have the ability to receive way more, and we know way more than what we've ever perceived, possible, like beyond our imagination. Like, one of the things I always say in my classes is, the one thing you're not allowed to say to me is, I don't know, because you do know. There's something you know about it, And if you ask yourself, the next time you find yourself saying, I don't know, ask, well, hang on a second, what do I know about this?
Well, and I think it goes back to, I mean, your magnet with good vibes is like, imagine what you could do if you knew you couldn't fail. And it's like, that's really what a lot of these tools, what all the tools are doing is, it's taking the lid off of like what we've been told is possible. And it's actually like, okay, infinite possibilities. Like, what is it that you'd like to create? And to be honest, even for me, like, that can be, even still, it can be uncomfortable sometimes. I'm like, wait, if I have infinite choices, like, what do I choose? How do I know? And that's where like going back and listening to this episode is such a gift, because it's like following the energy. Like, I love what you just said. Like, you can't say I don't know, because you actually do know. And so the more you're willing to step into your awareness, and the more you're willing to use your knowing to create your business and collaborate with your great business and receive from your business, the easier your life gets.
Yeah. And I mean, okay, so let's use as an example, so many people come to classes, or like I said, private sessions, and they talk about their business, but I'm like, do you actually want to do this business?
Mm.
They're like, yeah, of course I do. Maybe because it's something that they've been trained in, or they've been doing it for years, or it's a family business, etc. And when you actually get down to it, it's like, truth, which is a universal law that if you say truth, it's like you're going to know. And it's like, truth, is this actually what you'd like to do, in business? And when the relief in their world, when they're like, oh, no. And it doesn't mean you have to quit, doesn't mean you have to shut it down. But if you start to become aware of, do you actually, choose to do this, then maybe you're doing, one or two or three jobs in it that you could give to somebody else, so that you're actually doing within the business what it is that brings you joy. Because one of the things, Paula, this sounds so insane, but one of the things when I first started doing business is I never wanted to give anyone the jobs that I hated, because
Mm.
my point of view was like, everyone hates it. No. Everybody is different.
Yeah.
So I was never doing that. And I was like, oh, I'll just slug along and I'll just do it. And if you look at that energy, if you're just going to slug along and do it, it's like, is that going to bring you joy? Is it going to make you more money, increase your revenue streams? No. And then finally, like Captain Obvious, I realized, hang on a second. Some people like organizing way better than me. Like they like filing, they like doing the accounts, they like doing a stock take, or they like doing, XYZ. And I was like, oh, hang on a second. And started asking other people to contribute to that. And they were so happy to do it. So what do you know? Like, what is fun for you? What is not fun for you? And what could you actually give to somebody else to do that would make your business expand, like quicker, easier, like joy of business? Let's go.
Oh, it's so good. Well, and I think like even just as we start to kind of wrap up, like one of the things that we said is like when you're talking about this thing of targets versus goals, like if you're getting clear in what you want to create, I think there's an automatic assumption that if you have clarity in what you want to create, you have to create it yourself.
Yeah.
And even just like I said, the freedom of saying like, who can I add to my business actually
Yeah.
creates a space that makes your business way more fun.
Well, maybe you're the ideas person. Like Paula, I can't, again, it's like how many people like judge themselves because they're this ideas person, and they'll come up with, hundreds of ideas all the time. But because they're not instituting them, then of course they judge themselves. Other people judge themselves and go, oh, you're just a dreamer. All you ever do is dream. No, you're an ideas person. If you are one of those amazingly, creative ideas people, start writing all of those ideas down. Get a little book. And actually, it's so funny. I have a little black book. And get a little book, write those ideas down, and ask, okay, so who else could come along that could contribute to this? Because, yeah, as Paula said, you do not have to do this all on your own. You've got the whole universe to contribute to you as well. So if you actually, Paula's coming to Marseille, France.
Woo!
Woohoo!
That's all I know. You can't speak Italian in the Czech Republic, and I can't speak English in Paris. I mean, in
Well,
Marseille.
I know, and it's going to be interesting because all I want to actually, I'm like chucking out my Spanish that I know and my German that I know and trying to push it aside so I can just sort of see and perceive and speak Italian, because I'm getting, like today, my Italian lesson, my teacher went, no, that's Spanish. And I was like, did it again. So, I mean, they're so similar. But anyway, we'll be in Marseille, France, and the class starts on the 23rd of June, goes for 3 days. It's called Business Done Different. Now, you can also jump online and you can, if you hate the south of France and you don't want to go there because it's just so ugly and terrible and awful, and it's summer, if you don't want to go, you can also jump online. And we would love to have you. There is a bunch of languages. It's being translated. I don't know what they are at the moment, but we'd love to have you. We'll have all the details in the show notes. Please check out, like, subscribe and send this podcast to your, friends, family, co-workers, and your boss. Maybe send it to your boss. I don't know, a little bit easier for you. And also don't forget to check out, we've got the Instagram Choice, Change and Action now. So you want to check that out, slide into our DMs if you want to ask for something that you'd like, a question or a topic that you would like me to talk about. More than willing to have a look at that. So, yes.
Amazing. I love it. Go
Paula
out and have a great business.
I'm just going to end on one thing, because we're testing out StreamYard at the moment to see if podcast works better here. But I can't help myself. I have to play at the end of this. What is this tune called, Paula?
Okay, let's see. Name that
I
tune.
played it to you before. And it's just like, So we're on YouTube too, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, look, I've got to change of voice. We're on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. If you'd like to come and check us out on YouTube, please come on over. Subscribe,
This is
do all that
Change
jazz.
in Action podcast.
Well, you've got a good voice for that.
Yeah, thank you very
Maybe
much.
we should start doing some sex tapes. I love it. This audio is called Feeding the Ducks. Obvious, right? Everyone's
I'm kidding.
that.
No, I'm not kidding.
Feeding the ducks.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you so much for being here. Not judging us. Maybe you are. I don't know. I don't care.
Fine.
Love you.
Fine.
And I'll see you. It's fine. It's fine. We're okay with it. And I'll see you somewhere in the world soon. Okay. Mwah. Bye. Ciao. Arrivederci. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite listening platform to get notified of new episodes. We read all the reviews, so if there's any topic you would like to hear about, let us know. If you'd like to know more about the tools, information, and classes mentioned in the podcast, head on over to SimoneMilasas.com and follow me on Instagram at Simone Milasas, or the podcast has its very own link on Instagram at Choice, Change, and Action. Don't forget, you can download the show notes. And lastly, have way too much fun today.